I always loved a good scare, so when my friends invited me to join them for a haunted house experience, I was eager to go. We arrived at the old mansion late at night, the full moon casting an eerie glow over the abandoned property. As soon as we stepped inside, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was thick with a musty smell and every creak and groan echoed through the empty halls. We made our way through the first few rooms, encountering nothing but cobwebs and dusty furniture. But as we turned a corner, a figure suddenly appeared before us. It was a ghostly apparition, its face twisted in agony. We all screamed and ran in different directions, trying to escape the terror. I found myself alone in a dark room, the only light coming from a flickering candle. Suddenly, the candle went out and I was plunged into darkness. I felt something brush against my shoulder and turned around to see a pair of glowing eyes staring back at me. I stumbled backwards and tripped over a piece of furniture, hitting my head on the ground. When I came to, I was in a different part of the house, disoriented and scared. The rooms around me seemed to come alive, as if the walls were breathing and the shadows were moving. I heard footsteps approaching and I froze, not daring to move or even breathe. But the footsteps turned out to be my friends, who had also been separated from each other. We decided to stick together and try to find a way out of the house. As we moved through the rooms, we encountered more and more horrors. A ghostly figure that seemed to float towards us, a room filled with dolls that all turned their heads to look at us at once, and a hallway that seemed to stretch on forever. We were all on edge and ready to leave when we finally found the exit. But as we stepped outside, we realized that something was wrong. The moon had turned red and the sky was filled with dark clouds. We tried to run back to our car, but the way was blocked by a group of hooded figures. They didn't speak, but their presence alone was enough to send us running in the other direction. As we stumbled through the woods, we heard strange noises coming from all around us. We eventually found our way back to civilization, but the memory of that haunted house experience stayed with us for a long time. We never did find out who was behind the haunted house or what their intentions were. All we knew was that we had been lucky to escape with our lives. And to this day, I still get chills thinking about that night and the horrors we faced inside that old mansion. I recently moved into a new apartment complex in the city. The building was old, but it had been renovated to modern standards. The rent was affordable, and the location was convenient, so I jumped at the opportunity. Little did I know, I was moving into a haunted apartment. At first, everything seemed normal. But soon, I started noticing strange things happening around the apartment. Doors would creak open on their own, lights would flicker, and I would hear strange noises in the middle of the night. At first, I brushed it off as my imagination, but things only got worse from there. One night, I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door slowly creaking open. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, and saw a dark figure standing in the doorway. It didn't move, but I could feel its eyes on me. I tried to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. The figure eventually disappeared, but it left me feeling terrified and uneasy. I began researching the history of the apartment complex and discovered that it had a dark past. There were rumors of a woman who had died in my very apartment, and her spirit was said to still haunt the place. I tried to ignore the strange occurrences, but they only intensified. The bathroom faucet would turn on and off by itself, and objects would move on their own. I even woke up one night to find all of the furniture in my living room rearranged. I knew I had to do something about it, so I reached out to a paranormal investigator. They confirmed that my apartment was indeed haunted and that there was a malevolent spirit present. They advised me to move out immediately, but I couldn't afford to break my lease. I felt trapped and helpless, forced to live with a ghostly presence in my own home. I tried to sage the apartment and perform other cleansing rituals, but nothing seemed to work. The spirit was relentless and seemed to enjoy tormenting me. I began to fear for my safety, and even considered staying with friends or in a hotel. But the spirit seemed to follow me wherever I went. It was as if it was attached to me, and I couldn't shake it off. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to confront the spirit head-on. I lit candles around the apartment and spoke aloud, telling the spirit to leave me alone and move on to the afterlife. To my surprise, the activity in the apartment stopped completely. I don't know if the spirit moved on or if it was just dormant, but the apartment has been quiet ever since. I still get chills thinking about that experience, but I'm glad it's over. I've learned my lesson to always research the history of a place before moving in. I always wanted to own a house. So, when I stumbled upon this charming old house, I couldn't resist. The house was situated in the countryside, surrounded by dense forests and fields. It was the perfect place for me to start a new life. As soon as I moved in, strange things started to happen. At first, it was just small things, doors that opened and closed on their own, lights that flickered, and strange noises in the middle of the night. I brushed it off as just my imagination playing tricks on me. But things soon took a turn for the worse. I would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, feeling like something was watching me. The temperature in the room would drop suddenly, and I could hear strange whispers coming from the walls. One night, I saw a shadowy figure moving across the hallway. I chased after it, but it disappeared into thin air. I started to feel like I was losing my mind. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right about this house. One evening, I decided to invite some friends over for a dinner party. As we sat around the table, enjoying our meal, the room suddenly grew cold. The candles flickered, and the sound of a child's laughter echoed through the room. My guests looked at me, terrified. That was the final straw. I knew I had to do something about this house. I contacted a local paranormal investigator, and he agreed to come to the house and investigate. As soon as he arrived, he sensed something was wrong. He started to set up his equipment, and we followed him around the house. As we walked through the rooms, the temperature dropped, and we could hear strange whispers. Suddenly, the investigator's equipment started going haywire. The lights flickered, and we could hear a low growling sound coming from the walls. The investigator turned to me and said, "This house is haunted by something evil." He suggested that I perform a cleansing ritual to rid the house of the negative energy. I followed his instructions, and for a few weeks, things seemed to return to normal. But then, strange things started happening again. I knew I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I decided to sell it and move on with my life. But to this day, I still wonder what kind of dark history that house held and what was haunting it.